Hey guys, it's Sandro here, back with another head-to-head product review, this time comparing 3 graphene-infused spray sealants in the form of Turtle Wax Hybrid Solutions Graphene Pro Flex Wax, Ethos Resist Graphene Hybrid Coating, and Shine Armor Graphene Ceramic Spray. So, as per usual, I'll put up a little info about these products on screen, but the vast majority of this video will be putting these sealants through their paces to discover and share with you guys how they perform and compare to one another in areas such as the user experience, looks, slickness, feel, and hydrophobic behavior, as well as potential durability, so that hopefully when it comes time to buying one, you can make a well-informed decision. I'll also be giving you my own personal thoughts about these sealants later on in my conclusions, which will also be based on spending a little more time testing these products in the lead up to making this video. While I'm applying these sealants to 2 test panels that have been fully decontaminated, compounded, and given an IPA wipe down, I'm going to start by discussing the user experience. Also guys, just because it's going to get very annoying referring to these sealants by their ridiculously long names like Turtle Wax, Hybrid Solutions, Graphene Infused, Pro Flex Wax. Seriously Turtle Wax, you gotta cut that annoying shit out. I'm just going to refer to them by their brand names. So starting with Turtle Wax, there's a few things to cover here, as the brand suggests a few different applications for this sealant, such as a standard dry spray and wipe for the initial foundation layer, to a spray and wipe using a damp cloth for additional layers, to a spray and rinse as a top-up maintenance routine. Now I tested all these methods and personally found a noticeable difference in loss of performance and durability when using a damp cloth or the spray and rinse method that I personally wouldn't really recommend, compared to the dry application that definitely looked and performed better in all my prior tests. In saying that, it's also worth mentioning that the dry application isn't the quickest, easiest, or most forgiving to perform. In fact, although I wouldn't say it's horrible, I also wouldn't say it's exactly great, as it tends to smear a bit and definitely take a lot longer to level down than the others. But in complete contrast, using a slightly damp cloth does eliminate that issue and makes the user experience much nicer. Though as I mentioned, it also tends to reduce this sealant's best potential performance. I'll lastly mention here that when adding a second layer, I almost found it impossible to cleanly level down the sealant without a damp cloth, regardless of whether I waited a few hours or even the next day. So as Turtle Wax suggests, you should definitely use a damp cloth when adding a second layer, as the initial layer makes it far more difficult to level it down perfectly. Now this is actually the first Ethos product I've tried and tested, pretty much to you guys requesting it. But I have to say that if this is a sign of the sort of user experience this product has, I'm definitely impressed. There's just nothing to complain about the nice user experience of this sealant, as it's super quick, easy, and really quite forgiving to work with. I did also test all these 3 sealants out in direct sunlight, and the Ethos was definitely the best one in that more extreme condition by a long shot. So to put it simply, this sealant spreads onto the panel with extreme ease and wipes off almost just as easy in a real no fuss manner, regardless of whether it's a primary layer or a second layer on top. I'd even tend to say that in the whole realm of spray sealants, this would definitely be one of the nicer ones on the market to apply. I'm not exactly sure how to put it, but this Shine Armor graphene sealant is just a little weird to work with. I'm not saying it's overly bad or overly good, just quite different and a little strange. I'm not sure how well you can see it in the footage, but this sealant almost instantly and aggressively hazes over like no other spray sealant I've used. In fact, it's more of a wax type haze in look, but instantly. And also initially quite tacky, but that quickly subsides and it does level down without too much fuss. One thing I will say is that you really want to work quickly with this sealant and stick to smaller sections, but once you understand that, it's definitely a doable application that you can get the hang of. It's just not what you'd expect from a spray sealant's behaviour, look and feel during the application. So honestly guys, I just wasn't sure how I felt about the application of Shine Armor as it definitely leveled down much quicker than Turtle Wax, but also definitely wasn't as seamless as the Ethos, and like I said, just a little different and a little weird. So after the panels were allowed to cure for 3 full days, the next test was evaluating the ability of these sealants to improve the look of automotive paint. Like I say all the time, there's lots of things like reflective gloss, saturation, depth, and filling abilities that all contribute to enhancing the visual appeal of paint that aren't always the easiest thing to replicate in video footage. But once again, starting with Turtle Wax, I think it actually looked great, with obvious amounts of increased gloss, a nice darkening effect, and some decent filling abilities in being able to mask a good percentage of the compounding swirls. So all in all, I think most people will be quite happy with Turtle Wax's ability to further boost the look of automotive paint. In slight contrast, I don't think Shine Armor looked quite as good in that respect, as its section seemed a little less glossy and not quite as capable at masking in the compounding swirls. Though honestly guys, these weren't massive differences, as I still think it actually looked quite good. Now I have to say that, at least to my eyes, it was extremely close between Ethos and Turtle Wax, and this goes well beyond the footage, as in all the testing I did in the lead up to this video, they both seem quite equally matched in terms of gloss and saturation and their filling abilities across the board. But if you were twisting my arm and I had to pick a winner, I tend to say that Ethos maybe just looked a touch better overall. But it was so close that in my opinion, I just don't think looks should be a determining factor in choosing one over the other. Now just to add a little more data to this review, I did take some gloss readings with a Rope Point IQ meter to more specifically measure the reflective gloss units of these sealants. So as per usual, I took some readings in the unsealed sections and then a couple of readings in each section of the individual sealants as a comparison. You can obviously pause the video if you want to see all the stats, but what I'm going to put up on screen is the overall combined average of both the 20 and 60 degree gloss readings for each section. As you'll hopefully see, all 3 sealants were able to significantly improve the reflective gloss quality of the paint compared to the unsealed sections, but it was actually dead even between Turtle Wax and Ethos as far as average gloss reading units were concerned, with 69 units apiece. But surprising to me, Shine Armor wasn't really too far off, with 76 units, and actually did better than I expected based on what I was seeing in person. The next test was assessing the slickness or lack of friction that these sealants can create on automotive paint. In this test, there was quite a definite and obvious winner straight off the bat, which was Shine Armor. Although in the whole realm of car paint sealants, I wouldn't say it's the slickest I've come across, it's definitely still up there and honestly has a nice silky feel to it that I think most people will be happy with. Now just like the previous test, it was once again close between Turtle Wax and Ethos here, with both sealants actually having a nice slick feel, though nothing industry leading as far as reduced friction on the paint goes. But unlike the last test that was essentially a draw between them, I would say Ethos was a little slicker to the touch and showed a little more reduced friction in the sliding test to take second place. So onto some water behaviour testing to evaluate the hydrophobic abilities of these graphene spray sealants. I'll start by apologising for some of the footage as it was windy and cloudy outside, messing with the exposure and causing water mist to get onto the camera lens, but I still think you should be able to see the results fairly well. I just like to do these final tests outside so you guys can also see the panels in natural outdoor lighting. Now as I continue to introduce various amounts of water and diverse water spray patterns over this first panel, what you'll hopefully see is that there's two sealants here that actually have pretty good hydrophobic behaviour, being able to sheet the water quite rapidly whilst also displaying some fairly nice propped up water bead contact angles, which are obviously both turtle wax and Ethos. Like I mention all the time, I try to film these videos in a way as to allow the viewer to judge the results for themselves. So in saying that, you'll hopefully see that both turtle wax and Ethos were once again very closely matched in their hydrophobic performance. However, I also think that turtle wax had just a very slight edge here in sheeting the water a fraction of a second quicker than Ethos, and also displaying just very slightly more extreme water bead contact angles, but again, it was very close. But on the other side of the spectrum, Shine Armor was just simply disappointing here. It took a lifetime for it to sheet the water off its section, and the water bead contact angles were about as flat as anything I've ever seen, making it just poor and well below par as far as hydrophobic performance is concerned. Just before I get to the next test, I wanted to show you guys something. I'm not sure how well you'll see it in the footage, but if you look at the section with Shine Armor before I did the water testing, and then after, what you'll hopefully see is that just running water over the sealant removes its gloss and saturation, or ultimately the majority of the sealant itself. This is something I noticed on all the test panels I applied it to, that it actually comes off with just running water. Forget about hydrophobic behaviour, but this is just crazy, and I just couldn't get my head around how a paint protection product could be sold that's not even water resistant. The last test was a chemical resistance test to try and predict the potential environmental resistance and durability of these sealants. As per usual, I used CarPro Multi-X at a 1:5 dilution ratio, firstly just lightly hitting the panel with the chemical and then getting more and more aggressive with each subsequent application. Now, as you guys can probably imagine, Shine Armor didn't fare too well in this final test. Whatever little remaining sealant residue was left in its section after the water test quickly died off with just a light hit or two of the chemical, resulting in complete stagnant water pooling over its section that was taking up to a dozen minutes to finally dissipate by the end. So it's safe to say that Shine Armor has next to no chemical resistance whatsoever, and I just couldn't imagine any sort of durability from this sealant. Now, in complete contrast, it's safe to say that both Turtle Wax and Ethos did much better here, initially resisting the chemical quite well, and it was only when I started to get more aggressive that they both started breaking down and losing their hydrophobic performance. As I mentioned earlier, I did a bunch of tests on a bunch of test panels with all these sealants, and all I can say is that both Turtle Wax and Ethos were almost dead even in every chemical test. Sometimes Turtle Wax seemed to resist the chemical a little better, and sometimes Ethos seemed to edge ahead, but they were always super close in this area to the point that I just had to call it a tie. I guess what I could also add is that based on chemical testing paint sealants in general, I would be confident in saying that both these sealants should be able to last at least a good 3 to 4 months, or even longer depending on the paint, prep, environment, and of course your maintenance routine. So onto my personal conclusions. I'm going to start with Shine Armor Graphene Ceramic Spray. I always test detailing products with an open mind and try to be as fair and objective as possible. So although Shine Armor's user experience was a little different, it was still quite reasonable. And although its looks weren't industry leading, they were still quite good. Its slickness was actually better than good and easily the best one here. But how in the year 2021, company can release a paint sealant that not only has shockingly bad hydrophobic performance, but also next to no chemical or environmental resistance is just puzzling, to put it nicely. But you know what, I'll even let that go. But what I just can't let go or get my head around is how on earth they could release a car paint protection product that's not even water resistant. It took me all but a few hours of testing over the course of a week to determine that this product is just appalling and should never be used to protect car paint. So then that brings up the question of, did they even test this product in any substantial way? Who okayed it and decided, hey, this is something we should sell to car owners to protect their car paint, even though it washes off in the rain? It'd be comical if it wasn't real, but it is real, and good honest people are parting with their money and trusting that this snake oil is actually going to protect their car paint, and that's just wrong in every way. I think there's no doubt that Turtle Wax has created another good solid paint sealant here. From looks, feel, hydrophobic performance and potential durability, it ticks a lot of boxes here, and based on what I've seen, it should be an overall good paint sealant. I think the only thing I didn't overly enjoy was the user experience, that if I compare it to their own hybrid solution ceramic wax or even Seal and Shine, for me it wasn't quite as nice or forgiving to use. It's also important to note that this bottle of Graphene Flex Wax cost me $70 here locally, making it about 50% more expensive than their previous ceramic wax, and about 150% as expensive as Seal and Shine, which was really the product that relaunched Turtle Wax a few years ago. The thing is that I don't think this Graphene Flex Wax is 3 times better than Seal and Shine. In fact, I'm not sure it's better at all. What really made Turtle Wax Seal and Shine a hit was that it was a fantastic sealant at a fantastic price. But at this sort of money, the brand is now competing with top shelf brands and products, and for that amount of coin, I'm just not sure the value is still there. As I mentioned earlier, this is the first Ethos product I've tried. I guess what I'd firstly say is that I found it hard to find any real flaws from the user experience to looks, feel, and overall performance. So it's probably no surprise that, at least in this comparison, it would quite easily be my choice based on the fact that it really performed so closely to Turtle Wax in almost every area, but was much nicer to use and give or take the same price. And at least for me personally, the user experience is always at the top of my list, and I really enjoyed that with Ethos Resist. I'll let you in on a little secret. I actually tried to buy the Ethos Graphene Pro coating about a year ago, and knowing who I was, the local seller here wouldn't sell it to me for fear that I may not do a positive review on it. Now, if I really wanted to, I could have easily gotten another local detailer to buy it for me. But I took it as a sign that if the local seller doesn't have enough faith in this product, I probably shouldn't waste my time or money on it. Now, I don't feel that I have any right in forcing someone to sell anything to me. It's their business and choice. But at the same time, I'd be lying if I said it didn't deter me from the brand and make me a little skeptical. So I'm glad I decided to let that go and give Ethos Resist a go, as I think it's actually a great all-round sealant. Lastly here guys, I know one of the pondering questions you always have here is how does it compare to this or that other product? But unless I directly test products on the same panel at the same time with the same prep and expose them to the same tests and conditions, it's just hard to objectively make those determinations. I will try to take some of these better performing waxes, sealants and coatings and then do some more tests side by side with all the winning ones in some future videos. If you enjoyed this video and would like to say thanks and help support future content, you can do so by buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/ccad, which I'll have a link to in the description box, and thank you everyone for the support so far. As always, I really hope you guys enjoyed and found this video useful. Please share it, like, comment, and subscribe to this channel to show your support for this content, and I'll see you guys soon.